So let's just finish off on a big topic around women's sport and around ACLs. So last season, especially, I think it was
hmm
every week you would see new ACL within the WSL or within women's sports. It's quite a big topic around, especially in football. So what do you do at West Ham to start to try and mitigate the risk of ACLs in your players, and any advice in terms of other coaches and how they can start to prevent those injuries as well?
I will say because I got it's fun because I got that question from an intern the last couple of days, and the question was, "Do you do anything like especially to any ACL injury prevention? Anything to prevent injuries, ACL injuries?" That's what the question. And my answer was, if we need to start for ACL prevention, I will start right away as soon as they get up in the morning, as soon as they analyze their own status, and as soon as they provide us to that information. So the more we encourage the player to use their voice, the better information will we have from them, right? In a matter of how you have sleep that night, how tired do you feel to face today's effort, how is your muscle soreness after yesterday's training, how is your mental approach to the training today, in which part of the period are you. So it will be important, of course, quite important to track that menstrual period and to link to the wellness status and with the physical status. That for me will be already ACL injury prevention, right? If we continue to be able to provide the best of the nutrition side in the morning with even with an individualized breakfast, with a individualized food intake, with a proper one, and mastering that basic. Again, we're coming back to mastering the basics. The more prepared, the more full is a player to be able to face the training, the better will be the previous conditions. And this will be already, again, ACL injury prevention. If we have a good screening, if we have a good analysis of the status, the physical status of the player, the better program she will be provided by, right? We need to analyze, again, how your ankles moving, how is your knee function, how your isolated muscle activation behaving. Are you having any imbalance, any muscle imbalance between your hamstring? Are you having any imbalance between your capacity to extend your knee? Is your trunk moving properly? Are you having any lack of internal rotation, external rotation in your hip? That screening will be already, again, ACL injury prevention, right? And then the capacity to link that findings to convert that finding into an individualized program. It's also a good point for the players to have a more individualized training exposure, right? So your own prehab is going to look about, maybe you don't need to spend 15 minutes of the prehab moving your ankle because you're not having any ankle restrictions. Meanwhile, you're having a huge restriction in your internal rotation range of motion, and even in your capacity of produce force in your external rotation. So it might be worth for you to expend those 15 minutes because it's what you actually need to focus on, rather than go to a general movement preparation. Again, we're moving forward to ACL injury prevention, but not I will say not only ACL, to any injury mitigation. I will say, if we keep moving forward, if the session is gonna be about landings, it's gonna be about duels, it's gonna be about jumps, it's gonna be about chain of reaction, you actually also need to be prepared. You actually need to be overloaded to that acceleration capacity, to that landing capacity, to that any single landing can be an unexpected episode for you as an athlete, right? So you might want to have the wider spectrum of training exposure in this capacity. And also, as long as we are building that strength and conditioning training linked to your position and linked to your weak links and linked to your demands, it's going to be, again, ACL injury prevention mechanisms, right? Continue moving. The more capacity you have in the basic pattern, as 2-leg squat, asymmetric squat, unilateral posterior chain movements, as a hip thrust, as a deadlift, as a clean, as a hip thrust, anything that can be unilateral side, it need to be optimized. So again, we are preparing you for ACL injury mitigation, if that makes sense. And again, because we haven't mentioned, for example, in the max day -1s, I like to prepare then to expose a post-activation potentiation session with a low volume of exercises, no more than 2 exercises, 6 reps split in 2 sets, and then fully split movement, heavy load, and it's also neuromuscular stimuli to be able to be prepared for the maximal exposure, which is a game, right? Then those kind of strategies all together, I would say that is my main focus, or our main focus in ACL injury mitigation, to be able to have the wider spectrum, the most cover of the demands of any single athlete and any single female athlete in that case. It is what it allows us to feel calm in, like, we are doing everything that is in our hands to be able to mitigate at the end. The sport is unpredictable. The sport have a lot of injury mechanisms as well. Not always provokes an injury, but you're during the game, you are going through maybe 80, 100 injury mechanisms per game, which of course is not always causing an injury, but at the end it's inherent to the sport. But also, the more we expose to the players to every single situation that they can face, the better prepared they will be to that injury mechanism, right? And the more will be reduces the possibilities to suffer an injury, or that's what we're hoping with our training proposal.